You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth's it doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it. Do you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
These are primal forces of evil that we're dealing with. Some forces I don't even understand yet. I think I'm at risk. Events like the Flux create ripples through time. It will have been foreseen somewhere by some smart people. You need to figure out that date and help the Earth.
Pattern optimization in progress. We've been in this decade for 3 years now. Do you think we'll ever get back?
Gotham is the Double Pirate Fleet. Earth's shield is now breachable.
How you expect to protect this pitiful race, I do not know.
You seem remarkably proficient at this, Miss Khan.
There's no use being squeamish. We've got the future to save.
Can you feel the time force growing? It's working, just as we planned.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Earth Station Who podcast. We are in the final days of Doctor Who Flux. Can you believe it? The last 5 weeks have just flown by just like that. And we are at part 5 of Flux. We are talking about survivors of the Flux. And some people are going, what the Flux now? So it's going to be real interesting to see what we thought of this one. Did it live up to the Angels episode we watched last week? Or are we getting another episode like the week before that? So I'll be very curious to see what everyone is thinking about it. And, of course, I want to welcome our guests for this week. Let's welcome first, Mark Heffernan's returning to the show. Welcome, Mark.
Well, actually, I've never been on Earth Station Who. I've been on Earth Station 1 plenty of times, but I've never actually appeared.
What? What?
This is the first time.
I am shocked. Damn. Wow. You're leaving me speechless here, dude. I am almost embarrassed because I've always assumed you've been on the show multiple times, but you've been on Earth Station 1 so many times that... Yeah,
that's it. I've been on Earth Station 1, so it's kind of interesting seeing a different part of the station for a change.
Well, all we do, it's pretty much the same side. All we do is put in a blue light bulb. So it's, pretty much the same. And Mike leaves on the parking brake just to make it even more, comfy. So it's pretty cool. Well, welcome then. If this is your first time, Mark, you want to introduce yourself to our Earth Station Who listeners?
Well, I don't do a podcast, but I live in Atlanta, and I'm a volunteer at the Brit Track at Dragon Con, where we do all the Doctor Who programming, and that's pretty much about it. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I've been watching since the 80s. Both classic and modern. The latest show that I watched, other than the Flux, was I just got my copy of Galaxy 4.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So you have a open, you don't have it clammed off for the Americas, as they like to say?
I have a region-free player that's set up to play specifically British DVDs and Blu-rays.
Very nice.
Because I have a lot of British shows that I like, and a lot of them don't come over here.
No, totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah, you've been a friend of the show for Earth Station 1 almost since the beginning, I think. And, pretty much close to 10 years we've known you.
Yep. And like I said, I've done a lot of, I'm probably best known on Earth Station 1 for doing all the animation episodes, or at least a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. I think you've done 90% of them with us.
Yep. So that's one of the best things I'm known for over there. So this will be a little bit different. It should be fun, though. So
it definitely should be fun. And now we're going to have you on to talk about some of your favorite episodes of Doctor Who in the future. So that is awesome. Well, welcome aboard. And also returning to the show once again, and I know he's been on this show quite a bit. Let's welcome back Anthony Williams.
Mike, it's a pleasure to be back, and thank you all for having me again. And like Mark, I have also been enjoying the animated Galaxy 4.
Oh, rub it in. I don't get mine for another 2 weeks, dude. Come on. So I'm looking forward to when we can get it and everything. So I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it. We actually have it slated to review, I think, in the spring right now, because I think after we're done with Flux, I think the first storyline we're going to do is the second Doctor, Evil of the Daleks. That was just released, last month. So I think we're doing really good. And, this is a great time to be a Doctor Who fan and everything. So hopefully everyone's been enjoying it. What we usually do at this point is ask our guests, just overview. What have you guys both have thought about Flux so far?
Mark, do you want to go first?
Okay. I guess the best way I'll put it is I'll paraphrase Charles Dickens. It's the best of times. It's the worst of times.
I think that's good.
And what I mean by that is I think it's the best season Jodie's done. It's also the best season that Chris Chibnall's done. However, and one of the things I really like is Jodie, her frustration with not knowing what's going on. It's being played really well. She doesn't know what the flux is going on.
Oh, this is going to be a running joke tonight, I can tell.
And, that there's people out there like Swarm and the person that we're going to talk more about in this episode tonight seem to know more about what's going on than she does as the Doctor. And I think she's playing that really well. However, it's also kind of frustrating as a viewer not knowing so much what's going on. I kind of tend to be a person who doesn't like things to be and this is a phrase that I made up, where characters vague-splain things. In other words, they say a lot of things, but they really don't say much of anything. And it gets me irritated a little bit. I'm very much a person, if you're going to say something, make sure that it means something. And I think that's one of the reasons I like this upcoming episode a bit more than some of the other ones, because we're finally getting some answers. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. The other thing that I've had a lot of trouble with is keeping all the players straight. I think there's so many plot lines in this story that sometimes I forget. There's even a couple characters, I'll mention it later on, where I'm like, I get them mixed up because there's just so many characters that you're trying to follow. So, like I said, it's the best of the Chibnall era and the Jodie era, but it's not perfect.
It was the best of Chibnall. It was the worst.
Exactly. We're going to have a lot of Dickens jokes tonight, obviously.
No, we'll have to scare the Dickens out of us after that. So it's good. All right, Anthony, what about you?
I think I'm in a fairly similar place to Mark. If you think back to when we did the episode where we talked about RTD coming back, my chief complaint on the Chibnall era was I found season 11 pretty dull. And for me, the worst crime Doctor Who can ever commit is to be dull. I would rather have bad yet engaging Doctor Who than average but boring Doctor Who. And I think Flux so far has been anything but boring. It's been fast-paced. It's been engaging. I'm going to avoid the same joke that is clearly going to be a running theme, but there are moments where you are wondering what the heck is going on because of these different plot lines, and it keeps you thinking. It keeps everything turning over. The action is pretty relentless. It feels almost like Mr. Chibnall has gone, fine, I will give you what you want, but you might not like it with some of the various plot lines he's throwing in, but it's not boring. So it's been enjoyable. It's been engaging. It has been a little all over the place. It does feel a bit kitchen sinky at times. I think, the episode where we had both Daleks and Cybermen making a cameo, their cameos were not particularly necessary. It didn't need to be either of those. They weren't integral to the plot. So that just felt like a bit of pure fan service. But overall, it's an improvement. I kind of wish that the Chibnall era had this kind of pace and excitement since the beginning. I think it would have been a lot better received.
Understandable. Definitely understandable. All right. Let's welcome our regulars back to the show. Let's, of course, the lovely and talented Miss Mary Ogle.
Hi, everyone. It is fantastic to be here.
And, of course, Mr. Howdy himself. Mike Gordon is here.
Howdy.
I like your World Series champion hat, sir.
I got this before they won.
Oh, counterfeit. Got it.
No, I didn't really. I'm teasing you.
Sure you
I was going to ask if it was old school from 95.
Yeah. Well, he's old enough, so it could be. So, congratulations, though, to the Atlanta Braves for winning the World Series last month. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm probably the only one who listens to this show that cares. So, but that's all right.
Well, I'll say this much. I'm glad that they beat the Dodgers, because I'm a Giants fan. The Giants and the Dodgers beat the Giants. So I'm glad the Braves went on and beat the Dodgers because I'm not a fan of the Dodgers.
Nor am I.
I'm glad they beat the Astros.
Yes.
Because the Astros are a trash team.
They are. They're cheaters. Cheaters, I tell you. So,
wow.
Have to people
talk about baseball on all our shows to combine.
Exactly. Thank you for coming to Earth Station Baseball. That's it for tonight.
And Anthony's saying nothing at all.
I still don't care about baseball.
I mean, the sad thing is it ended a month ago and we're still talking about it on a Doctor Who podcast.
This is Atlanta we're talking about. They need something to root for. It can't be the Falcons by any chance. So
we don't win many things around here.
No. Nope. But, we could talk about the Flux, and we definitely would love to hear from everybody at home. Please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. Definitely would love to hear your thoughts on Chapter 5. And with that being said, let's jump in with both feet. As we jump in, we are going to talk about another episode written by Chris Chibnall. Yoo-hoo! Directed by Azhar Salim. And produced by Peter Levy and executive producers of Chris Chibnall and Matt Strevinson and Nikki Wilson. So pretty cool. This is basically putting all the chess pieces together this week, folks. And that's exactly what it felt like to me. It felt like they're just setting up for so much that has to be wrapped up in one episode. And I'm really curious to see how this is going to land. And are they going to fall flat on their face, or are they going to basically do the superhero landing? So I'll be very curious to see where it goes.
Keep in mind, too, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, too, that there may be some threads that are not resolved until the 3 specials next year.
Yeah.
Oh, I fully expect
I see some of that. I think I see some of that going on as well.
I think one of the storylines tonight I felt that we're going to talk about felt very forced down our throat that didn't even need to be there. But I liked 2 of the storylines that we had.
You're going to talk about Grand Serpent, aren't you?
Of course.
Yeah.
We might as well just jump right into it then. I did not think the whole thing with the Grand Serpent needed to be in there. It kind of forced UNIT down our throats, which I'm not complaining about. I love UNIT. UNIT was one of my favorite parts of the old series, and I love how they've brought it back in the new series. And I even like, that we got Kate Stewart back. I loved seeing that. But the whole thing with the Grand Serpent being tied into that was so unnecessary for the story. There's so much other things going on with the Flux and the Doctor and the companions and everything. I wouldn't have cared less if we would have seen the Grand Serpent again. At least, or maybe even hold him off to the specials.
Yeah,
that would have been pretty awesome.
A separate episode.
Yeah.
I think it still remains to be seen how this comes together. Obviously, it's not a coincidence that the Grand Serpent is here. It's not just some random guy. It's someone who has a history with Vinder, and the home planet there. So there's elements there. But so we don't know what those are, so we don't know how those are going to play out. But yes, Mike, like you, I kind of felt like as enjoyable as those scenes were, because the actors involved, I really enjoy. Except, I don't know if it was just me, but the scenes, especially that first scene with the Grand Serpent and Kate Stewart, it felt like they were in two different rooms and she was just reading a prompt.
They probably were in two different rooms because of COVID.
Actually, they probably were.
There's a good chance of that.
And I just felt like it was like just awful. Like I'm like, surely she's just not reading a prompt, but she's just, I guess she's supposed to be staring him down, but instead it looks like she's just looking at a teleprompter and reading her lines. I think obviously the actress, the character, we've seen before, and we know that she deserves better than that. But yeah, like you, Mike, I was kind of like, I'm not invested in this. This is a bad time for this, Chris. Like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I would really rather see what else is going on.
Well, the question like just called in at the last minute is how it felt to me. It's like, I got to stick somebody in there.
Yeah.
Call her
at first I was like, is he daring to introduce a new character? And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I've seen him before. It took me a minute though, because there was no connection really.
Yeah.
So I was just like, it might as well just have been a new character. And I'm like, this is pretty late in the game to be introducing something new to all this, Chris. And yet when I found out, I'm like, okay, yes, we have seen him before, but it still felt like cold water being put on a fire.
Well, and there's so many other characters too. It's just, come on. It's starting to get ridiculous. And it's not that I couldn't follow it, but it's like, it's distracting. It takes away from the core of the story that is frankly more interesting than this part.
On top of all of that, in delving into UNIT's history, I feel like Chibnall possibly deliberately poked a little bit of a bear with the old UNIT dating controversy in having UNIT started to be formed in, 1958, and then up and running in 1967. Web of Fear was meant to take place in 75. He decided to insert Lethbridge Stewart in a little throwaway reference in this, referring to him as a corporal, which is not how the military works. To go from corporal to actually being commissioned officer would be incredibly rare, and to do that over 8 years, from corporal through senior NCO ranks into commissioned ranks and all the way up to colonel in 8 years, basically unheard of. We're talking Star Trek level promotions there. Doesn't really happen. So I feel like Chibnall, deliberately or not, has stoked a little bit of controversy amongst the fan base. And the chap who edits the Lethbridge Stewart
talk. He would never do something like that.
and the chap who edits the Lethbridge Stewart range of novels is a friend of mine, and I can tell you he is not happy with the fact that they have once again messed with the character's history, and apparently a stern letter has been sent to the BBC already.
Ooh.
So,
what were you about to say, Mark?
I was going to say, my whole problem with the Grand Serpent is, why would the Sontarans really need help to invade Earth? And to me it just seems like like you said, it's an extra. I'm like going, if the Sontarans are going to invade Earth, I think they could do it well enough on their own without any help from the Grand Serpent. That's just my personal opinion, because I think you're right. It's a late edition, and while I enjoyed seeing Kate Stewart again, I would have rather seen, instead of shutting Unit down, I would have liked to have seen the Sontarans actually fight Unit.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Yeah.
That would have been great. Now, of course, Unit's shut down, so it's kind of like, it's not quite as interesting to me. I would have liked to have seen a battle with Unit versus the Sontarans. I think that would have been interesting.
And on top of the question around why introduce the Grand Serpent, we don't know anything about him. What's his motive? Why is he on Earth? Why is he even doing what he's doing?
Why is he working for, exactly.
Yeah, the last time we saw him, he was on a far-off planet doing some kind of political maneuvering. How did he end up in this storyline?
Back in the 1950s to boot. And that even made it confusing. I heard a lot of people being confused because of all the different time jumping anyway.
Yeah.
For the companions.
They had to tag everything to keep it straight, but still, I think I hinted at last week that we're starting to see Chibnall's nice sort of storyline crack, right? And in this episode, more than any of the others, I felt like a lot of things happened because they had to happen, not because they made sense story-wise, but just because they had to happen. It's like, why did one ship just decide to leave? And so we could get that other, we get Bell's ship, right?
Yeah.
No reason, just random, one ship left.
Just because Doctor Who.
We had to get, and why is she in that ship? No reason. There's just a lot, it's just there's just a lot of stuff going on that is happening. It's like you said, Mike, that he's putting the chess pieces on, but he's not playing by chess rules. He's just putting things in place because he's playing in a sandbox at random. And I fear he's got something to say, and he's got something he wants to do, obviously, with the Timeless Child, which is, I know we're going to talk about that.
We're going to be here for a while tonight, folks. That's his big moment of what he's affecting with Doctor Who, and everything else just seems like it's fluff at this point.
Well, I think it is. I mean, this is one of his problems.
Flux, rather. Sorry,
it's one of his problems with storytelling. I mean, in a lot of things he does is it's broad rather than deep, and he's not. He often has trouble with characterization because he's kind of all over the place and doesn't delve into their motivations enough. Now, not all the time. I have seen him do it. He's capable of doing it, but he's not doing it this time, or at least not in this episode. And it feels very superficial.
I had a friend write me halfway through the episode because he was watching it at the same time I was. And he said, oh, geez, the Grand Serpent is doing the same thing they did, 25 years ago on Star Trek The Next Generation, with the things coming out, the bugs coming out of the mouth.
Oh, right, conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and not to say that, it was all bad, because there was some really nice moments in here. But to your point, Mike, mean, we have the Doctor meeting her. Well, we'll get into that, right? So we have the storyline going on with the Doctor, which is we need to hear this. And then we have, for the first time since maybe the first episode, Yaz actually doing stuff. And this is enjoyable. Let's watch. Oh, we can't, because now we're going to cut back to another scene where he's meeting another unit official and killing off that. It's how many of these scenes do we have to go through? We get it. We get it.
Well, he's undercutting the characters' motivations. He's undercutting their it's why, when you're finally giving Yaz something to do, why not let her do it?
Well, exactly. Yaz was wonderful in this. I'll jump out and say it and defend her on this one. She was the true leader of that group. And, I loved seeing, of course, Professor Jericho again. And I loved seeing Yaz be a true leader like she was the first episode of the season.
That needs a name.
What's up?
That team's name's a name.
We'll call them Scooby Gang right now.
Because it's gonna they're gonna have their own Big Finish series, right?
Well, they've got 3 years to fill in, or 4 years or something.
Exactly. They've been like
it's perfect for Big Finish.
So on that point, 3 years, and they basically travel across half the world in 1904. Someone did the math based on modes of transport at that time. Not really doable based on where they went, but again, I feel like Chibnall and dates are probably not his strong point.
It felt like something they were trying to copy Raiders of the Lost Ark, showing the map with the route and everything, and it was just like Indiana Jones did it much, much better.
Well, I mean, Doctor Who first did it in 1964 in Marco Polo.
Oh, of course they did.
There's precedent for it in the show.
Of course there is. But, and then, them finding all these different pieces that, will tell them about an invasion that's coming. And then they go to this Maharishi in India, and it was pointless. That was
he does this little comedy act, and it just felt very out of place.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, it was just like, I almost, when he started doing that, I'm teasing you, him ripping off the beard, and it was the master. And that would have, I was fully expecting that. I was like, oh, this is going to get good. It's the master. It's going to be awesome. And it wasn't.
Did anybody get a feeling like he was patterned off of Trevor Slattery from the Marvel movies?
A little bit, yes.
He very much reminded me of the type of character you would see on a British sketch show in the late 90s called Goodness Gracious Me. Very similar types of characters in that show. And that was 4 Indian comedians making fun of the Brits, the Indians, British stereotypes of Indians, Indian stereotypes of Brits, basically all that kind of cross-cultural humor. Felt very similar to what they used to do.
The thing that got me about that was comparing Yaz to the Doctor story. I really liked the fact that they were actually going out and trying to solve the mystery, unlike the Doctor, where she basically gets told everything. I really like the fact that they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to understand the clues. They're trying to solve the mystery, So Scooby Gang is kind of relevant there, but I like that.
Sorry, Mark.
But that's the thing is, with the Doctor and Tecteum just basically tells her the whole story, and that's a little bit disappointing in my opinion. So I really enjoyed the Yaz parts, but you're right. Because of all the constant plot lines, they kept cutting away from the most interesting part of the story. Because we got to go to Vinder, we got to go to Belle, or we got to go to Kate and the Grand Serpent. It's just like keeps jumping all over the place.
Well, Vinder, I thought, was just wiped out way too quick. It was like, he's gone. But they had to bring him and Diane together. It's just like, why?
Mark, you raised a really good point about the Doctor being told things as opposed to solving it herself, because that's exactly what happened at the end of last season with the Timeless Children. She was sat down in a chair and basically the Master explained it all. And here we have that same pattern repeating with Tecteun. And it feels like she has no agency in this storyline, partially because of that. And
yeah, it's like show, don't tell. It's a basic tenet of storytelling. Too much exposition.
Well, okay, I'm going to give Chris a little bit of a break here, because it's not like a villain monologuing to the hero has never been done before, right? Like, it's just a standard.
That doesn't mean it's a good thing to do.
No, well, but I mean, it's pretty standard. Like, I'm not going to be so much offended by that, because it's just like, okay, well, he's just using that trope, right? But I do believe, like, to Mark's point, I do believe that Jodie is killing it, so that it doesn't feel like to me that she doesn't have any agency, because her struggle seems real. And
her internal struggle seems real.
But the problem is that the storyline with the exposition that is the things that she's being told, And also on the other hand, on the other side, the mystery that the Yaz Gang is trying to.
Hey, I like the name. Like the name.
Like makes no sense. Like it should. Like if you try to like piece it, I watched it the second time and I was like, okay, they're doing this, and then they're gonna, and I'm like this. Okay, so all this results to like them having to paint like this message to someone in space to see it decades later. Like I like what? Like it's stuff. It's like we were saying. Like all this stuff is happening because Chibnall wants it to happen, not because it makes any sense.
I did love Carvanista's reaction of, I can't travel in time.
I can't travel in time.
What do you
I know.
expect me to do?
Yeah, exactly. Not a time travel. Yeah, we don't have time travel. Stupid human. Like, So yeah, that's going to be, and then you got this guy like popping around with tunnels, and that seems really, talk about random. Talk about, we need a clue. Just have a guy pop up out of nowhere and be like, hey, here's your clue, and then pop back out. It's just like, come on, Chris. Like this is sloppy.
But the thing is, the tunnel thing started resolving itself, or at least they figured it out how he was showing up everywhere, because the tunnels he built somehow was at a nexus point that branched out all into all these different times.
Well, I'm glad you understand that, because I didn't understand what the heck that meant.
I don't either. I'm assuming, I'm assuming that's what is going on. And he was so relieved when he said, we've seen you in all these different times. You get it. You understand. And brought those four together. And so that also explains probably how they get to the 21st century,
Who knows?
I love how cranky he is. He's like me when someone schedules a 7:30 meeting on a Monday morning.
I could see that. I totally could see that.
But to that end, when Yaz says this is what we're doing, and he finally like breaks down, I give the actors credit there. That's a real moment that I'm like, that felt real. Like, because we had seen his frustration throughout all this, like all these 5 episodes. And so someone finally gets it, So I appreciated that as well. But also, it doesn't make any sense to me. Just like Swarm saying like, you are space, we are time.
Well, that was a stupid line.
We will use you to fuel whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
It's almost like he's got this idea in his head of what will sound cool as to whether or not it will make sense. I remember about 15 years ago, I was working on a script for a fan audio, and in retrospect, I'm glad no one made it because it was terrible. And I was obsessed with finding a way to get the word apotheosis into it just because I thought it sounded cool, not because it made sense. And that feels like what Chibnall's doing with some of these things here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gibberish.
It is. Some of it is, and it's just like he's just throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's what sucks about it.
It's actually an interesting idea that the guy, he stumbles upon these portals that lead to other timelines. You could make something out of that, and then they start turning into portals that lead to other universes. I think is what the implication was. They were changing somehow, but he doesn't set it up well. He doesn't give it enough backstory. He doesn't explain it. He just sort of hand waves it away. And so you're left like Carvanista. You're like, what the I don't.
And I think the one thing I will say in Chibnall's defense is he does have another episode to wrap up a lot of this. Can he do it in 65 minutes? Probably not. He's not very good at sticking the landing.
No.
But some of this stuff, I feel like maybe we should reserve judgment for another week.
Yeah,
yeah, very much so. And I am, that's why I'm not totally bashing this, because there were good points in this storyline. And I've even come up with a theory with how everything could be wrapped up nice and clean. And
big red reset button.
Here comes the Omega theory again.
Nope, Omega doesn't have anything to do with this one. But thank you for asking. But
it's the Ronnie.
It's always the Ronnie. It's always the Ronnie.
It's the Valyard.
You've got introduced into a possible Doctor Who multiverse in this story, in this episode too. And there's possibilities with that too. So the TARDIS that was in unit headquarters, was that Doctor Number 3's TARDIS?
No.
It was Jodie's.
It was Jodie's. Okay, because a lot of people
picked it up from the village.
I know, I heard that too, but a lot of places online are reporting, oh, that's Pertwee's, TARDIS.
No, so based on when that took place, it would have been before Spearhead in the unit chronology.
Oh, very much so. It's at least almost 15, 20 years before.
I think that's just symptomatic of people being kind of confused.
I think so too, because it was confusing, and because I heard him say, "Oh, we picked that box up in a village, 2 years ago," because this was 1969, and the thing happened in 1967. So, and it was interesting to see, and it was just almost like a throwaway line, and it was just like, well, at least we know where the TARDIS is, type thing.
Yeah. We still don't know about the others that were left behind. Claire, sorry. Maybe Claire will show. Who knows?
Who knows, Michael? Who knows?
Girl. And this seems impossible to wrap up. So yeah, we could use her help. Yeah. I mean, I get it, because it's like this is the penultimate episode, though. This one should be, as Mark pointed out, we're starting to get some answers, but it doesn't. I mean, it feels like the spread of spaghetti on the wall is getting even wider.
Oh yeah, and then Swarm and Azure showing up, at the place and the headquarters, and it was just like, why are they? How do they know where this place is? Type thing. Because where they were in prison wasn't the headquarters. It was type thing.
There was a line in there that basically they homed in on the Doctor.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
they'd got something.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was her DNA or a piece of her tech or something, but they were able to hone it on her.
That's what they were using her as bait or whatever to get to.
Gotcha.
The one thing I did like about that story is the fact that Swarm and Tecteum were not working together, because I know earlier in the series there were people who were wondering, is Tecteum and Swarm working together? And I'm glad that they weren't. I'm glad Chibnall did not go that way. Because
I agree completely.
In fact, it seems like it's been the opposite all the way through, and it also seems like the Doctor might have to be working with Swarm. They seem to be kind of on the same side.
Kind of, because Tecteum actually, admitted that she let Swarm out to cause chaos and everything. It wasn't that, they're working in tandem together. She did it, a couple episodes back. I had mentioned it felt like somebody was controlling the whole situation.
Well, it was almost to distract the Doctor while
exactly
the universe.
Exactly, and, as the universe is being destroyed and everything by the Flux.
Honestly, up until this episode, I kind of assumed that Swarm and Azure were behind the Flux, and now we know they're not. I'm kind of wondering, what are they trying to achieve? Are they just agents of chaos trying to create as much havoc as possible because it's fun? Or do they actually have an end game in mind here that I somehow missed? Was that
Well, they have
explained?
a vengeance story.
Their
story, it is. I mean, that's their story right now. It's set up that their story is a vengeance story. They were locked up by Division, and they want to take Division down because they locked them up. So I don't know what they were trying to do. That they and I don't think it makes any sense. I think they've told us this whole thing about space versus time thing, but it makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's either way above my pay grade or it's just nonsense.
Oh, no, it's not. It's just nonsense.
It's kind of. I think they're very similar to the Joker and Batman. They are agents of chaos, because even when the Doctor was caught in the time stream and they, she visited when they got captured the first time by the Renegade Doctor, it basically was, they didn't have any planned either then, except for killing all those people that were in the passengers.
No, they've had this whole thing planned since the beginning. I don't see Agent of Chaos. I see these people have planned this out since, like when we first see him and he escapes. That's the start of this. This is this whole plan.
Now it is to bring down, bring it down.
Back then.
Well,
that's what he's been planning for.
I think they want also access to the other universes.
Because they want to cause death and destruction and agents of chaos. And,
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know.
No, they even said it because they said we're going to bring death and destruction to all these other galaxies and universes. They said it in this episode. So,
well, it's also a survival instinct as well, because, let's be honest, if they're still in this universe when it gets destroyed, they're gone too. So, obviously they want to jump to the next universe. Even if they want to create chaos, they certainly want to survive to be able to create that chaos. So they probably, I'm assuming, of course we'll find out next week, that they probably knew about Division's plan to destroy this universe to move on to the next. So they're trying to basically take over the Division and do it themselves, so that they can survive.
Yeah, they don't care if this universe gets destroyed as long as they have somewhere else to go.
And
exactly.
Do the same thing over again.
This is the issue this is what I'm talking about with the cracks of Chibnall's writing, is that we all don't know. We're guessing because he hasn't given us any information, and he hasn't made these, to Mary's point, he hasn't made these characters ones that we can identify with and feel.
Yeah. And I'm left thinking, I really hope it is a big reset button at the end of this, because RTD's going to have his work cut out putting all of Chibnall's toys back in the box and getting things back on the right track if Chibnall doesn't go down that path.
Well,
she did say that there was there is a quote unquote reset button. She can, what's compressed can be decompressed, right? So she can
they kind of left it open.
Yeah, she can save the universe. Now, if you're talking about the Doctor's history, I'm
talking about everything.
And all of that, then it's going to be hard to put that back in the bottle, because, we haven't even talked about that, but that's probably the biggest change that we've seen to the Doctor's makeup in the franchise, for a long time, is that we've met her mother, quote, adoptive mother, right? This is a big deal. And I don't think anybody ever asked for this.
No. That's one of the things about Doctor Who I've always loved, is you don't know his back history other than him and Susan took a TARDIS to escape Gallifrey. And, I think that's where it should start. That's where it should end. That should be the Doctor's history. We were pissed when, if you remember back when Moffat had Clara go back and hide under the Doctor's bed when he was a little boy. Type thing. And we were screaming bloody murder back then. It's they would, no, and now, this with the Timeless Child, I'm just going to come out and say what I'm thinking is the leaving of the fob watch there is just too convenient. It's just it's been sitting there for thousands and thousands of years. Let's keep the Doctor's fob watch right there on the shelf. I'm thinking, and this is my theory for next week, and, please, if anyone thinks I'm crazy, everyone does anyway, but if anyone thinks I'm crazy, because there's a scene in the trailer that Azure's holding the fob watch and opens it, and everything comes pouring out. Wouldn't it hits the Doctor, and all of a sudden she wakes up coming out of the Matrix from the end of last season? That it's
all a dream.
The whole
season
out of the shower.
Exactly. And it literally is,
That's not very satisfying.
No, but it was the master behind the whole thing. It's been a plot.
Oh, I hope they don't go there.
And if Chibnall does go there, I think that is the sign that he's effectively been fired and told to get things in shape before he leaves.
Oh, I guarantee it. But that's my theory. And,
that's the thing. I don't see, and that's a valid one, Mike, because right now, I don't see an end game that is really one that I'm excited about.
No, not at all. And truthfully, the character of Dan was a total waste this episode. I barely remembered he was in this episode. And, it was all Yaz and then Professor Jericho. But, everyone else, what else is going to happen? I'm thinking, something has to wrap, because in the trailer you see Daleks, you get to see Cybermen, you get to see all these different baddies. How is the Doctor going to suck them all off of Earth and put them back all into place again? There has to be something that Chibnall is planning, and I don't know what or where, but they pretty much confirmed in this episode that, she's the timeless child. There's no if, whats, or buts about it.
I mean, he doubled down on that.
So I really started to think about that during this one too. And I'm like, okay, she's a timeless child. They're establishing that she's from somewhere else. She's not Gallifreyan.
No.
But yet she has the exact physiology as a Gallifreyan, and she can regenerate like a Gallifreyan. And I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
it really doesn't make any sense.
They experimented on her and gave those
exactly.
attributes to the Gallifreyans to make them Time Lords.
Yeah,
the implication is she's the proto Time Lord.
Exactly. Basically,
she started it all. Basically,
I had blocked a lot of that out.
Yeah, rightly so. I tried.
Exactly.
But I'm like, because it's painful. And then look, I'm all for multiverses. I'm a DC guy, right? So I love multiverses. The fact that multiverses are now the thing, thanks to Marvel, making the multiverse is now the thing to do. I picked up on that as well, Mike, because they mentioned multiverses here, and I don't know if that's where the future of this series is going. Not only time and space, but actually, different universes. And they also open the possibility that she could literally have been thousands of people. And I'm like, this is getting too out of hand.
It is. And, someone said, multiverses, that means Rose can come back. So it's.
No, it does not.
I've heard that twice from people already. So it's.
He might be Rose and, the Hand Doctor's love child.
Wow. Talk about bringing the show. Whoa. Okay. Wow.
So I've always been fairly critical of the people who've said Doctor Who lasted from 1963 to 2018, or 2017, whenever the Capaldi final episode was. If they do go down that path, I might be like, okay, I'm just going to forget the Chibnall era happened, pretend none of those revelations happened, and just carry on Doctor Who is as it always was.
Which is kind of sad, because Jodie is acting the crap out of being the Doctor. She is amazing this season. And if I could say one shining light out of this season has been Jodie's finally being the Doctor, and it sucks that she is leaving. I think she finally hit her stride this season, and she was given stuff to actually wrap herself around and have her acting chops. And, she proved it this episode, as she has all season. This has been great stuff for her.
Yeah, she was compelling, even just standing around listening to them telling her what was going on.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And for the past 2 seasons, I'd been of the belief that she was miscast in the role. And I think she's finally got to where she should be with it. And she's convinced me.
There's a confidence in her performance.
I have to wonder whether or not it would have been better off, at least for the first 2 seasons of Jodie, as if they had done like they're doing with this season, just made it one overreaching arc rather than, single episodes, because maybe that's more in Chibnall's wheelhouse. I mean, I get it that we've been really bashing this story somewhat, but in the end, I still think it's a lot better than what we've gotten the last couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah,
Mark.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised because at DragonCon, I was sitting next to you on a panel where you were actually, claimed that you actually stood up like a Chibnall defender, Mark.
I actually think Chibnall has tried... has been more experimental. I think the problem is especially with the long Moffat era, it kind of got into what I want to call like a routine, a little bit. And Chibnall's tried to do some things. Even the Timeless Child. I know pretty much everybody else on this. There's things you could explore with the Timeless Child. Like you say, well, now we know everything about the Doctor. Well, we really still don't, because what about this universe he came from? Where did he originally come from? We don't know any of that, and Chibnall hasn't told us anything about that. That's stuff that could be explored either by Chibnall in the final 3 episodes that he's got, or something that RTD could explore. I mean, I don't necessarily think the Timeless Child is the death of Doctor Who, unlike a lot of people, which is the reason I've been kind of a Chibnall defender. I think he's done a lot better. I think Chibnall's done a lot better with this season than he's done with his previous seasons. There were some good episodes in those first 2 seasons, but there was a couple of real dogs in there too.
Well, to your point, Mark, I do see that if this were, the premise and the idea behind it, is the fact that, is sort of like, you think you know the Doctor, you think you know that the Doctor is Gallifreyan, you think you know the Doctor's a Time Lord, you think you know all about the, whatever, but you don't. The Doctor's now even more of a mystery than she ever was, because we don't know where she came from, we don't know where, like, anything now, which makes her even a bigger question mark in a lot of ways. So, but the way it's been presented has not been that competently.
Well, basically, she's being told all this stuff either first by the Master and now by Tecteum, rather than finding it out for herself. Sure. Which is, I think, would have been a far more interesting way to do it. And I think that's where Chibnall falls down a little bit, is he likes to tell rather than show. Yeah. And I think that's his biggest fault.
Yeah, because he could have spent this whole series with her, and this is what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be her trying to find out what her roots are, and kind of trying to solve the mystery. And that's not what's happened at all. We sort of get, like in most episodes, we get a few throwaway lines about it. And then now here at the end, they just tell her, which is too bad, because I think that's a missed opportunity. Though I will say I agree that this has been the best series so far for Chibnall and for Jodie.
Yeah, and I think despite the fact that I've been picking this particular episode apart big time, like it is, even though the characters could be better written, I've given a lot of credit to the actors involved, because I do like, I was engaged to see the Yaz Gang. I am engaged still to see Jericho. I am engaged, as much as I was like, what's this Grand Serpent doing back or whatever. The actor that plays him is doing, he's doing everything he should be. I mean, he's perfect in that role. He's creepy. He's like, so yeah, he's definitely, doing that stuff. Even the guys who were playing like, Swarm and Azure, like that couple, I feel like are doing their job. Bell and Vinder, I still love them. I like their story. I'm like I said, I keep rooting for those kids. I'm not sure about, is it Tecturn? Is that how we're pronouncing this?
Tecteun.
Tecteun.
Tecteun. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Drink.
I just didn't. I don't know. I just found it difficult to take her seriously. She just looked like someone who should be tending a garden. Like I was.
But
just
she
like,
seemed very calm about getting dusted too.
Like, oh, the doctor's going up against Miss Marple. I was just like,
maybe she knows something that we don't about the dusting.
That's certainly possible.
That's true, and she might all of a sudden pop out from behind the ood or something like that. That really wasn't me. It was a, hologram or something. Because she didn't fight it. She didn't anything like that.
Yeah, she just stood there.
Yeah, which was really, really weird.
But to your point about Howdy Mike, about the acting and just generally how it's still the best of Chibnall seasons, I agree. I stand by the points I made at the beginning of the episode where at least this is exciting, and it's giving us a ton of things to debate and speculate on.
It's true.
Sure.
Which, again, I think back to Chibnall's first season, and I was bored. So even if there are things that we don't like or things that we think are dumb, it's getting us talking.
Yeah, it's true. It's
because we're trying to figure out what the Flux is going on.
But I mean, it is. I mean, I have not. I've talked more about, I think after the first episode, I felt like I had more to talk about than the whole last 2 seasons before it, because it's compelling. It's engaging. Even this episode, as frustrating as it is, and I think there were a lot of problems with it, there was a lot of good in it too. And I watched it avidly. I wasn't bored. I didn't want to walk away. I wasn't glancing down at my phone or whatever.
Yeah. That said, I do have one other point of disdain that I would like to raise. So you have realized that someone in a position of power is a murderer. He's an alien. He's manipulated his way to the top, and you are in a room with him. Do you, A, kill him, B, have him arrested by your peons who are all over the building that you're in, or 3, tell him to please stop what he's doing or you'll be very cross?
I'm going to call somebody who's going to stop you.
You better stop or I'll just call my mom.
I'm going to call the doctor.
Yeah, it was, that part was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was some sloppy writing right there.
That was horrible writing. And it sucks because she is such a good actress.
Well, talk about taking away her agency.
Yeah.
She's the head. And she's like, please stop or I'll call the doctor. I mean, that's... Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I'll add to that too. I thought the delivery of all that was awful. I thought the whole scene was just like I said, it just felt like she was on a Zoom call. But
it felt like it was shoved in.
It would have made more sense if it was a Zoom call, the way she put it, truthfully.
But I'm glad she didn't die. I mean, I was thinking, are they just going to write her off? And, they didn't. So, we got an Osgood shout out. So that was nice, right?
Well, you might get to see her next week. Maybe.
We got another reverse the polarity
of course.
Reference in this. So that was cool too.
Very much so. And I thought overall, I'm going to give it a thumbs up for this episode. We're not rating, like we've been saying on all these Flux episodes, that we're not rating it right now. We're just giving it a thumbs up or mid thumb or thumbs down. We'll do full ratings at the end of the season to see how it ties up so we could rate it as a full. I think that's the best way. And we'll get in touch with everybody who's been on the show this season. So we'll get everybody's reaction to it. And so I think it would be kind of cool. So let's go around real quick. Anthony, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up. There are frustrating things about it, but it was still very, very enjoyable.
Excellent. Mark?
I'm going to give it a thumbs up as well, despite my complaints. Like I said, there was enough in this episode that I enjoyed, especially Yaz's story. So I'm giving it a thumbs up, especially for Yaz's story.
Excellent. Mary?
Hashtag Yaz Gang.
Yaz Gang. And you coined the phrase, Mike. That's what it is now.
I'm going to, Yazzie do. I'm going to
Yazzie do?
Yeah, I think I got to give it a thumb sideways because I found a lot of it frustrating. But you know, it was sort of like the episode before the Angels. It was half good and half bad. So
okay. Like I said, if they didn't have the unit storyline in this, I would have been happy. I would have, you know.
Well, it would have helped it, yeah.
Yeah. Mikey, what about you?
My thumb is in Flux. It is
Flux that.
It's a very nervous thumb.
Wavering
just
between
like
universes.
it's just jumping around, not really sure which way it's going to go. So we'll find out next week.
Aha. So it's my fault. All right. That it's fluxed. It's fluxed. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, everybody. We've had fun with this. It's been great, you know, going the last 5 episodes weekly, talking about new Doctor Who, and it's already coming to a close next week. So, of course, next week we are once again coming to you guys, and we are going to look at the Vanquishers. So, wonder what that means. Wonder how it's going to tie in.
A whole new race that he's going to introduce in the last
5 new storylines.
Exactly. Who's going to walk out of the shower? You know, we'll find out then. Let's, of course, thank our guests for being here. Anthony, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And now you want to tell everyone a little about your podcast.
Yes, you can find me on the Watchers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. We are watching our way through all of Doctor Who from 1963 until now. Wow, it's almost like I've said this a number of times. And right now, we are deep within the Unit era. We have just released our episode on the Demons, and we'll shortly be releasing our Season 8 retrospective. We are next week recording our episode on the Sea Devils. We're a little further ahead of where we've released. So well within the Lethbridge Stewart era, which is partly why it was so frustrating to see what happened to Unit in this particular episode that we've been discussing. But yes, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all of the usual places, watchers4d.podbean.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at watchers4d.
Perfect. And Mark, you made it through your first episode with us, my friend.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I don't have a podcast or anything to promote other than the Brit Track at DragonCon, which I've been a volunteer for the last 4 years, and hopefully once again next year. So
fingers crossed.
Yep. So, but you can find me on Facebook if you want to, or you can talk to me on the Brit Track group. So, if you want to get a hold of me. So
awesome. And of course, let's thank our regulars for being here tonight. Ms. Mary Ogle, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's always wonderful to be here.
Anything you want to promote?
You can find me at in my artwork at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And of course, Mr. Mike Gordon.
As always, it's my pleasure.
Hey, you coined the phrase tonight, so you get the final word tonight, my friend. So
the final word is Yaz Gang.
Gang. There you go. As we like to say, feedback is always welcome at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Earth Station Who is a proud member of the ESO network, and feel free to donate to and join to our Patreon, or if you want to listen to older episodes of the show, we are up on earthstationwho.com, where we could be found on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever fine podcasts are found. Earth Station Who is even there, so just look for us. And thank you for everyone who's been listening. Our numbers have been going up because of new Doctor Who, which is always great. And we got a lot of great things coming your way, including in 2022, we're going to be creating an archive so you can go all the way back to episode 1 of Earth Station Who to listen to. So who would ever want to do that? I don't know. But it was kind of fun, and so slowly but surely we're putting that together for you guys. So definitely join in. Thank you very much for listening. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving here in the States. Until next week, we will see you on Earth Station Who. Peace, and we are done. Boom.
Woo!
Woo.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talent from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Hello there. I can see you have great taste in podcasts. Keep your discerning streak going with the Soul Forge podcast. No topic is off limits on the Soul Forge. We talk about life, toys, dating, geekiness, love, nerdiness, sex and dating, TV, movies, and just about anything you can think of. Check out the Soul Forge podcast. soulforgepodcast.com and wherever you find your podcasts. We're everywhere.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.